I'm Bea.
And I'm Sam.
And we're two best friends who like to talk shit about smut, wingspan,
And sometimes books.
Join us every Wednesday for a new episode.
Hello.
Hiya.
Been a quick minute.
It's been a quick minute, even though it hasn't, because we spent all weekend together.
What a treat.
What a treat. I'm still suffering today, I'm not going to lie.
I was very tired. I woke up at 9 and I did not want to be awake.
My big toe is black and blue.
What did you do?
I don't know.
Oh.
Something, obviously.
You were loving your life, so.
Yeah, I mean, you know, good times, innit?
It was a good night.
It was a lovely night.
I really enjoyed.
For anyone who doesn't know, we were celebrating my birthday.
Lovely videos on TikTok and Instagram of us.
Yeah, I know. Officially, it's not till the 5th of August, but we were celebrating this weekend because we're on our holly bobs next week.
Yep.
Well, you go before me. When do you go? The Tuesday?
The 6th.
And then I go on the Saturday.
Yeah, and we're not going to record on the 5th, are we?
No.
No.
Because Callie Hart is... No, because it's Amber... Yeah, because we've got Amber V. Nicole recording this Friday.
And that comes out next Wednesday. And then Quicksilver comes out the Wednesday that we come back from holiday. Yeah.
So
make sure you schedule it for the right day.
Yeah, well, the 14th. So, God bless you. There's 3 episodes I'm editing this week. 4, including Patreon.
Organised girlies.
Fucking hell. So, yeah, we've got next week. Oh, no. Because this is ahead. So, Amber V. Nicole is out.
Yeah.
If you're listening to this. Hope it went well. Hope you enjoyed. And then we've got Callie Hart coming out next week, which we have yet to record, but we record when we get back from our holidays.
Yes.
And then the week after, we've got our collab with Bookish Babes coming out.
Yeah, that's going to be fun.
Really
which is going to be our bookish origins.
Yeah.
So sort of like where we came from in the world of books.
Yeah.
What we read as children, like our favourite books as children, and how that has now shaped what we read as adults.
Yes. So that'll be really good fun. They're a good laugh.
I'm excited for that.
Very excited. Nice to have like a little refreshing palate cleanser after quite a few weeks of like book after book after book, you know?
And we've been smashing out the reads, haven't we?
Yeah, we really didn't, like we said this load, we just didn't intend it to go this way, did we? But then stuff just, it's like with the pen call, like we reach out and, because the thing is sometimes stuff can take like, we've got stuff scheduled at the moment for like October.
Yeah.
So we just never know like,
we have to like move around our schedule if somebody says yes to us.
But then sometimes stuff happens really quickly.
Yeah.
So it's a bit
Callie
like
Hart.
Yeah, exactly. So we just have to go with the flow. But in theory now we don't have any like author interviews planned between now and sort of like certainly sort of September.
No.
We've got some fun things on the cards of September, but we won't talk about that quite yet. We're
gonna have another business meeting.
Yeah,
after
we've got another
our
business
holidays.
meeting. Yeah, we need to catch up.
We just need to get our ducks in a row. There's a couple of
We
things that we're not.
We have to have finance quality review.
Yeah, so I'm now the finance manager.
Which makes sense, honestly, because I can't fucking add 2 and 2.
Bethan is our content creator, our sound coordinator, our editing, or our editor, I suppose. We're both CEOs, founders, managers.
You're more like on-set sound engineer, I'd say. I'm more like post.
Yeah, I'm like
edit.
Yeah, I'm pre-recorded. You're post-recorded. Yeah.
But one thing that you definitely are is our finance guy.
Yes,
because I'm
looking
such
for
a
man in finance.
Trust fund. Because I'm such a messy bitch. I just like subscribe to things on our account and I'm like, it'll be fine. And Sam's like, no, like there's not enough money in the account to cover this.
So we set up a joint account just so that all our business expenses came from one place. And Bethan's like, oh, we'll do this. And I'm like, no, Bethan, there physically isn't enough money in this account. Like, stop it.
And I'm like, yeah, but it'll just work out.
And I'm like, no. Yeah, but how will it work out? We're going to put money in. That's how it's going to work out. Like, it's going to cost us.
Yeah, so we need to just have
we need to sit down, a debrief.
Yeah, we do.
We're going to map out, I think, the rest of the year because we want to make sure that we're scheduled before Christmas so that we're not, we don't want to, as much as we love you guys and want to put content out for you, we want our Christmases to be our own.
Oh, definitely. And like I'm away now as well in September for like a week.
You go to the States.
US of A. So we've got a bit of stuff coming up. And also it just really helps us like balance, because up until now we've just been going sort of like winging it. And although we're not, we've loved what we've done so far, it's been incredible that we've literally had 3 author interviews back to back. Like that's amazing. But I think we'd like to try and balance it a bit better, because we appreciate that like we tend to do 1 book per episode. Yeah. And if you haven't read these books, like say for example, if you hadn't read Amber V, Nicole or Pencol, that's 4 weeks worth of episodes that you can't listen to. Yeah. So we are conscious of that, and we want to do a bit more of a balance. And we want to also have other people on the podcast that aren't necessarily authors.
Yeah, definitely.
So definitely
just like bookish content people. Yes. We've got so many followers who like actively engage with us and like talk to us. That I think it would be good to like do something different on the podcast rather than just authors.
Yeah, because the vast majority of you, like I'm making assumptions, but I'd like to think the vast majority of you are book talkers, and generally that's how people tend to find us. Yes. So we kind of want to make sometimes content like that's relevant to book talk and that kind of thing. So we've definitely got some stuff tentative for the end of the year, but yeah, we like 100% need to get our ducks in order. Our last business meeting was very productive. You made fun of my agenda, but it was a really productive business meeting. It was really
productive. I take back my mockery.
Because we've got like main episodes to schedule. We've now got Patreon episodes we need to think about. Yeah.
Collaborations, finances, like all the different things that we've signed up to.
Yeah.
Street team arcs. Like we've got a lot of pots on the stove. What are you currently reading?
I am currently reading. So I finished of my big 4 book thing. I mentioned this. My big 4. I finished one last week. So I've done Ruby Row, House of the Crimson Hearts. I'm now focusing. Well, I was really focused on Crimson Kiss, which is the street team that we are a part of. But then Quicksilver happened. Yeah. So I had to prioritize Quicksilver. So I've just finished Quicksilver, obviously, because we wouldn't be talking about that. So I've literally only just picked back up Crimson Kiss. I read like a few chapters, like a chapter last night. I'm about just below halfway through.
You need to read Powerful.
I know. Recorded that
novella. It took me a day.
Yeah, I've taken it on hauls. I'll be fine. Yeah. I'll probably do it on the flight over. It was a 5-hour flight. Yeah.
It was all right.
Yeah.
Probably not as bad as Powerless and Reckless.
That's good to know.
I'd say that's the best out of the 3.
Okay, lots of people have said that. I've heard that about a lot of
things.
But
it was still shit. Yeah. But it was the best out of the 3. There were some nice moments in it. But like I said, like she gets a love interest in it. So I was thinking like, that love interest will pop up in Reckless.
I've heard lots of people say this.
And then I was like,
lots of people,
I got to the end and I was like, where the fuck was Mac?
Where are you?
And like, why make me invested in their love story? You kill her and then never mention him again. Unless he's going to be in Fearless.
But you know how you've now read Reckless?
Yeah.
How fucking shite is it? It's actually worse than Powerless. I would actually prefer Powerless.
Do you know, I don't know if anyone knows, but Hayden sleeps in the morning and is quite hard to wake up. That is mentioned so many times about like having to like shake her awake. I'm like, you've made your point. She's a deep sleeper. Like, can we get over this?
The other thing that I just couldn't fucking stand was like, when they were obviously trying to hint that he's got this like dead sister now that came out of nowhere, when he was like under the tree with a birthday cake, like happy birthday A, like, or whatever, what was her name? I don't remember. Yeah, it's like, just say her fucking name. Like, there was no mystery anyway. Did you know to kiss his sister's thumb? How fucking rank is that? Imagine if you were like necking on with a guy and he was like, do you know why I kiss your ear? And you'd be like, no, tell me, because you should do it to my dead sister. Fucking jog on.
Strange writing. Strange writing.
Anyway.
I'm looking forward to doing those episodes. Hi everyone. Hope you're enjoying this week's episode.
If you're looking for more A Pod, a Smut and Wingspan content, head over to our Patreon, which is now live,
where you'll find monthly bonus content and have the chance to have your say in what we release on the podcast.
Subscribe and have a listen. We've got a full episode of all the books that we would recommend to scratch the ACTA itch.
But for now, enjoy the rest of this episode and we'll see you soon.
So we're here today for a book that right now is like hot off the fucking press.
It is everywhere. Everywhere I look, somebody is talking about this. Somebody is recommending it. Oh, and I am here for it. I'm the one, it's me talking about it and recommending it.
Yeah, well, we just saw it everywhere. And I text you like, this fucking Quicksilver is like, everybody's talking about it. A lot of our like reliable sources, like you guys that we follow on TikTok, were like doing reviews, and we were like, you know, maybe we need to like pay attention to this.
Yeah.
And
well, Caitlin's Romantasy was reading it, and she is the TikToker that introduced us to Pencoal. Yeah. So we trust her judgment.
Yeah, once I think we saw Caitlin talking about it, it was like, right.
And then I saw the cover of this boy with his like scruffy curly black hair and a silver tear, and I was like, okay, colour me intrigued.
Like, if anything says like Shadow Daddy, it's that cover. And I was just like, yeah, and it's on KU, and we were like, right, maybe we need to like pay attention to this.
Yeah.
So we weren't really planning on, like, we would put it on our TBR, but we were like, it'll happen. And then the more I like was looking into it, researching it, like finding out about it, I was like, oh, maybe this author would be a really good person to Callie Hart to talk to on the podcast.
Yeah, because she's got a lot of books out, but this is like her first toe dip into fantasy.
So when I was like researching Callie as an author, it was really interesting because she's quite a prolific author. Has written a lot of books to date, but all of them kind of not in different genres, so dark romances from what I can see. I think there was some YA in there, but not really in the romantasy sort of world.
No, I don't think she's ever written fantasy.
No, I think maybe her YA is a bit more, but nothing like that is in this kind of like new adult romantasy world. So that's what I just thought was really interesting, because I think like a lot of the authors we read and authors we've got so far on the podcast are like, they are romantasy through and through. Yeah. And look, like Callie, we'll find out, Callie could be like a diehard romantasy lover on the side. Yeah. But I just thought it was really interesting it gave us the chance to have somebody with like a slightly different background. Because we talk about that all the time, like the Rebecca Yarros's jumping over into the romantasy pool. So we reached out to her thinking, oh, these things don't happen quickly. We'll have a good few months. We can schedule like Quicksilver prior. And then she said, oh, well, when are you going to record Quicksilver? And we were like, well, in theory, like now.
Yeah.
And she said, yeah, great. I'll
meet you straight afterwards.
And we were like, shit, okay.
Cool.
So at this point, I was like 2 chapters in, like a chapter, and I barely picked it up. I don't think you'd even started it, had you? Or like had just started it.
No, I started before you.
Yeah, we were barely into it, and so it was like, shit, we need to pull our finger out. So here we are, Quicksilver.
Yeah, I think we both read it in 3 days,
3 days. Yeah. I absolutely devoured it.
Very interesting magic system.
It gave me big Plated Prisoner vibes.
Yes, I agree.
Which I never thought I'd say that, because we're not going to spoil Plated Prisoner when we're talking about it now, but like, we say how unique of a series that is. Yes. There's a lot of tropes that we like to see, but like the core essence of Plated Prisoner is very unique.
Yeah, I agree. And like, I don't recall us ever seeing a magic system where they use like a pool to travel through. Like, that is very unique and very different, and you just have to think about where you're going.
Well, and the whole, we do, in this book, again, like if you're listening at this point now, like you've read it or you just want to be spoiled. How are we saying her name?
Saeris.
Is it Saeris? There was pronunciations at the front of the book. I probably should have, I'm sure there's, sorry. I thought it was Saeris, but.
Hang on. Oh, I don't know. Sairs. Saeris? I was saying Saeris. I'd say Saeris.
Well, we can just see whatever we want. Like, we'll find out.
I'm saying Saeris.
Okay, I'll say Saeris. And one of us is right. Her magic is effectively like alchemy.
Yes.
Which in the real world for a very long time was like believed to be a pseudoscience. Like people, I have an alchemy tattoo. So it was really nice to like have that take on it. Because so look, maybe there's lots of books out there that are the same, but for us, we've never read anything quite like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, her magic is super interesting.
Very interesting. In the beginning of the book, they talk about the queen that's been like reigning for like forever.
Yeah.
So were you shocked then that she was a Fae sister?
Is she? But I think they say that she isn't Fae, but she's been able to. She's a vampire.
Well, no, she's their sister, isn't she?
I think that term was used figuratively.
Oh, but she must be fucking Fae. She doesn't die.
Yeah, the only thing that I picked apart with that is, I'm sure at one point Kingfisher, who is our main character, says, what's her name, that queen? Is it like
Madra?
Madra.
Yeah, Queen Madra.
So I'm sure at one point Kingfisher says like Madra's human.
But then why is she not dead?
Yeah, I don't think we have answers for that. And I think the king, Belkion, I'm sure, again, it doesn't say this explicitly, but like the Fae have such a keen sense of smell that if he was like Malcolm's brother, which means he was like vampire, that they would have sniffed that out.
Oh.
So I think the terms are used figuratively because I can't think his actual younger brother who saves him at the end, the one who turns Saeris.
Oh, like Dianthus?
Oh, is it? I thought we were going with the TH. Sorry, is it Dianthus? No, Dianthus is the bloodline.
Oh, Taladeus.
That's his actual like biological younger brother. But I think...
But it was his nephew. But...
Oh, I thought it said...
Honestly, at this point.
Who knows?
Whoops.
I think he's his actual biological younger brother.
Okay.
And then I think it was seen as more of a collaboration.
Yeah, sorry. So to go back, were you surprised that the Queen was in cahoots?
Yes, I was. Because they say at one point that Madra... She's the one who closed the Quicksilver pools. She put the sword into the Quicksilver pool, and that's how she locked it. Was it? Or was it?
I thought it was
Fisher's dad?
Yeah, I thought it was his dad when he went through, but maybe it was Madra. I can't remember.
She did something bad.
Yeah.
Because at the beginning of the end bit where they show up to the Colosseum and she's there, that's what Saeris says. Like, I thought you all fucking hated each other.
Yeah, because surely you blame her for not being able to travel and like your imports being cut off, etc., etc.
And she's like, and then they say like, oh, you know, we made up.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I don't know necessarily if they were in cahoots from the beginning of the book, but I was gobsmacked because
I was sort of like, saw this coming.
I didn't see. It was so painted that they were like, maybe Malcolm not so much, but the fact that Belkion was there at that point, I was like, why the fuck? I wouldn't have been surprised if it was one or the other. The fact that it was both of them, I think.
I wasn't surprised that it was the three of them. I was just a bit like, ugh. But I was surprised that Belkion had used his own daughter as bait.
Oh, he's a fucking prick, isn't he?
What a prick.
And when you find out, like, because, like, obviously you get the implication really early on that how are we saying it? Everlane and Fisher are siblings.
Yes.
And, like, because, you know, the way these books tend to go, like, we kind of guess that they maybe weren't full siblings. Because obviously Belkion isn't his dad hates him. So
he refers to him as the dog.
So, like, you do get the impression that, like, they don't have the same dad. Because obviously they must share a parent. Mm-hmm. But, yeah, the way you assume is that, like, Fisher's mum in some way lived him. When you find out that, like, she literally got a letter of summons. She'd never met the man before and it just said, come to the palace because you're going to marry me. Died having his child because really having more than one Fae child is really dangerous. And then he just says like, oh, she was a breeding mare and then I was fucking fuming that it wasn't a boy.
And also, he summoned her to the palace to be his wife because she had money. He said, come with all your assets. And then he was tamping that she showed up with her son. Like, but like...
Tough tits.
You can't have all her money and her womb and not bring her first child.
She's just going to leave him in wherever they're from. Bye. And also it's implied that like he's pretty much the reason why Fisher's dad died in the first place.
Yeah, well, did he die?
I don't think he's dead.
No, me either. Obviously, he was trapped in the human realm.
I think it could be that man who's her, like...
I thought that. Elroy.
Elroy, that's it,
yeah. I thought it could be Elroy.
But this book, like we said, magic is super interesting.
Super interesting.
The female main character, who we've briefly touched on.
Yes.
Which we're pronouncing... Saeris. Is really interesting.
She is so interesting.
I wouldn't say the most unique.
Yeah.
I'd say she does fall into some of the sort of like typical tropes of like bit of a badass, bit of a fighter.
Yeah.
Comes from the slums.
Yeah.
But what I will say is, and this isn't like we love like a sassy female main character, but she isn't that sassy.
No.
She's in moments, but it isn't like overly sassy. She's actually quite like I'd say quite like a spiky person.
Yeah, so I know we've discussed this via text, but I'm going to talk about it now. So obviously she's like knocked unconscious when she's carried through the Quicksilver and taken to the palace, and she's like slightly aware that someone is visiting her and talking to her, and then she says, I know that she's been singing to me. Then she says, I wish she'd just fuck off.
So funny. Yeah, she's hilarious.
Oh, I was creased at that.
Yeah, very spiky.
Yeah.
Because I think you don't notice it as much until you kind of get that vibe from it. But the first couple of chapters is really just all her like internal monologue of her stealing the glove and climbing over the wall. It isn't really until you get to Carry On. Are we saying it Carry On? Yeah. That you start to realise when she interacts with other people, particularly a character like Carry On, who's like such a like womanizer, she's very spiky. Like very, I don't give a fuck. Like, I'm starving, I'm hungry, I'm poor.
I'm starving, I'm hungry. Same thing. I'm like, thirsty, I'm dehydrated.
I'm starving, I'm like, just fuck off.
Yeah.
Like, everyone I love is dead.
Stop winding me up.
Fucking do one. So, yeah, like, and obviously all she cares about. Is her younger brother.
Yeah.
How are we saying it?
Hayden,
I was close, okay. So all she gives a shit about is Hayden.
Her brother.
And yeah, when you get those interactions, particularly with Carry On, you can tell like she doesn't suffer a fall.
No. And I quite enjoy that about her.
I really enjoyed her. It was actually quite nice to have somebody that wasn't like too much of an extreme.
Yeah.
Like she is quite normal, if that makes sense. Yeah, and her internal monologue is fucking hilarious. And then I think it became even more apparent when she goes through the Quicksilver to what we then learn is the Fae realm.
Yeah.
When she's interacting with, how are we saying it again?
Evelyn.
That, because like Evelyn is literally the definition of sunshine.
Oh, she's sweet.
She's such a sweetie. But then, you definitely get that contrast and you see it a lot more that like actually she's a bit, I don't want to say rough around the edges, but yeah.
So you've already touched on Carry On, so I'll just come straight in with my question. When Fisher brought him through the Quicksilver instead of Hayden, like, what were your thoughts?
I was gobsmacked, but then I also got a bit annoyed because I was like, oh, he's just going to be the like comedy relief, funny, useless human, which he was all the way through, right? He was.
When he came through, I thought, oh, here we fucking go. He's going to do my head in.
Yeah.
I was like, he's going to really rub me up the wrong way.
He's actually really... Do you know who this isn't a spoiler, but he gives me big Jesper from Six of Crows vibes.
Yeah.
And like, we love Jesper. He's one of our favourite characters. But yeah, in the beginning, he didn't give me that vibe. And I was like, oh, he's going to be a right fucking pain in the ass. And I was worried that he was going to almost be like the jealousy trope between Fisher and...
Yeah, I know. That wouldn't have done it for me.
Yeah, but actually, I thought the balance was done really well, and he actually fit in
really well
into that little group really, really well. He's really funny.
Yeah, and then the twist of him being from a Fae line.
So that's something to say about this book. Like, we were fucking gagged. Like, we read a lot of romantasy, and there's nothing wrong with books being predictable. Like, some of our favourite books are predictable, but the twists in this I didn't fucking see coming.
And I feel like I am quite good at mapping out a book and knowing where it's going to go and saying like, oh, I think this is going to happen. I think this is going to happen. That like fucking spun my head round because I was like, no.
So I kind of was a bit suspicious when he was like, because I think she says in her internal monologue, like, why is he doing this? He knows he's going to die. Like, when he's bad-mouthing Malcolm, like, he's going to fucking die. He's going to kill him.
Yeah.
He's literally, like, but he kept going. And I was like, there's something going on here. And then when it says, like, I'm the last of the Dianthus bloodline, he's the real king and queen's son.
Incredible. And I just thought it was done so well that, like, they get to the Colosseum, they're all speaking, and he tries to introduce himself. He gets cut off, and they're like, fucking shut up, human.
Yeah.
And whatever. And then he said, when he actually introduces himself, he says, like, you should have let me finish introducing myself.
Yeah,
and I was like,
he's the underdog every single time.
I was fucking
like,
you
plays up
for
as
it.
the fool, then actually turns out to be probably the most important character by the end of the book.
When he said, like, oh, I'm coming, I was like, oh, carry on, fuck off.
I know. But yeah, it was great.
Oh my god, yeah, he really changed my opinion of him.
Yeah, so when he accidentally brought Carry On through, I was a bit like, oh, but I thought that was a real shocker of a scene. Like, I didn't see that coming either. I thought that was really fun. Because I did just think it'd be a brother. Like, I just thought
I'll be siblings in the Fae realm. Thoughts on Onyx?
Oh, the fox.
I thought that was so fucking cute.
It is, but I always worry when there's an animal companion because they tend to die.
Yeah.
Like, again, this isn't a spoiler for Throne of Glass, but Fleetfoot. I think he dips out by book 3. He doesn't die, but he dips
I was
out.
restless.
Every time that dog was mentioned, I would get.
I was like, oh, here we go.
He's gonna die. So yeah, it's really cute.
Yeah.
But, like, I think it's just gonna fucking die.
I just find the interactions hilarious and like that Fisher just fucking hates it.
Oh yeah, it's great.
And then by the end, like she walks into the bedroom and it's laying on Fisher's chest in bed.
Yeah.
One thing I didn't like about this book, and I'll just hang on, what did you rate it?
5.
Okay, it was a 4.5 for me.
It's the first book in a series that I have ever given 5 stars. I've never given the first book of a series 5 stars because, and I like to think we're both quite generous writers. We are. But I just tend to find that like I just can't give first books 5 stars because there's so much. But I think like, you know, this book obviously ends on a huge cliffhanger, right? But I could never read. I could not read the rest of the series, and I would reread that book time and time again because it was as a standalone book. It was wonderful. I think what was so clever that Callie Hart did in this was she put a lot of big plot twists.
Yeah,
whereas generally authors don't do that till book 2 or book 3.
No, I totally agree. I rated it 4.5, and I love that we're getting book 2 in October.
Fantastic.
So like that's not long away.
Do we have a
at
name
all.
for it?
No.
Oh, okay.
The thing that I didn't like, and maybe I wasn't understanding it correctly. So I didn't really understand the go and see the gods thing. I just was a bit like eye rolling, like, oh, you're now my ward. And like, oh, Kingfisher was my ward. I was like, what does that mean? Like, I don't understand.
Well, it's kind of, I think the way that I can work it out is this Quicksilver talks to her, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And when it says, because
I assume it's the gods.
Yeah, so I think that's what that explains. Is all this whispering, like give us something, is the gods are communicating through the Quicksilver to her. So when she makes that deal, she's made a deal with that, I can't remember his name, but that god.
Yeah.
And that god, is kind of in the same way that, again, not a spoiler, but you know how like they say Lorcan and Elide in Throne of Glass almost have the gods like on their shoulders at all times.
Yeah.
I think it's sort of implied that Kingfisher, he didn't know, but he was like this god sort of like, like hero on Earth.
No, well, I think he did know, didn't he? I think that's what I mean. This is why this is what dropped it half a star for me because it confused me. So when they're talking about the Quicksilver in his eye, he says, like, I'm aware that I made a deal and that if I'm separated from the Quicksilver, I'll die. So I assume that he's met that god.
And that's the deal that he's made.
Which, again, doesn't really make sense of, like, what the deal is, but whatever. Like, we'll keep you alive, but we're going to put some Quicksilver in you. Okay. But then, right at the end of the book, it's almost gone because the healers have found a way to get it out. And I'm like, well, she was trying to get it out to you, though, and she would have been able to because she can manipulate the Quicksilver. Yeah. But you told her not to because you die without it.
Yeah.
And now you're saying that it's almost gone because the healers could do it. So I was just a bit like, maybe it's going to get explained in book 2 and it's going to, unpick that a bit more. But at this moment in time, I don't like that the Quicksilver's gone from his eye because we'd previously been told that he'd die without it.
Yeah.
So I'm just a little bit unsure on that very smidge of the story. Yeah. Everything else, fucking devoured, eat it up, gobble gobble. But yeah, just that one little bit, I'm just a bit question mark over.
And also like we talked about this offline, but I think you mentioned so I thought it was quite clever that the god then said, oh, you need to be made into, because obviously the realm that they're in, he implies that like other gods are watching, right?
Yes.
So there's other gods that are going to try and manipulate their fate.
Yes.
Because it sounds like he wants her and Kingfisher to succeed.
Yes.
And he purposefully moved their threads to see if they would ever fall back in love, and they do. They found each other. He said, I moved, timelines, I moved like locations.
Yeah, so they're not just mates. They haven't just got the mating marks. They've got like the seal of the gods, which has never ever been seen before. No. For hundreds of years. Yeah. They all thought it was a myth. But like they've got like basically every mark to say that they should be together. They have.
Yeah. And so he then says that other gods are going to try and, interfere.
Yeah.
And make it not happen. So how does he make her invisible to the other gods? Well, she needs to be something that isn't Fae or human.
Yeah, so something that's never existed before. And I thought
that was quite clever as to the explanation as to why she turns out to be what she is. So she becomes Fae because that's the god's influence. He turns her Fae. Evidently, she must have some kind of Fae.
Yeah, to be an
alchemist, but she's very diluted because she doesn't have the ears. Yeah. But then because she's literally dying, then Malcolm's brother, whose name you, turns her vampire.
Yes.
So she's now 50-50, which is cool as fuck.
Yeah. Taladeus
turns her vampire. So now she's 50-50, which is just cool as fuck.
Yeah.
That plot twist right at the very end, where Fisher says, you are now queen of Malcolm's realm because you're the one that killed him.
And Carrion, we can assume, is going to assume
he's the rightful king.
Falchion's position as king. So you know that they're going to be allies, that there's not going to be any hostility between. Well, you assume there's going to be no hostility between them. So yeah, what comes next? Yeah. Like, that's really exciting.
I think for me, we just said this, but what I loved, I understand there are things that's still unanswered, but it's end of book 1, like.
And if it answered everything, it would be a standalone book.
Yeah.
But it's a series.
You've got to have some mystery to keep you hanging for book 2.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think just what was so, if say, for example, if book 2 never got released, I would still hugely enjoy this book if it was just a standalone. I just think for a first book, I've never read a book like it where you've had as much plot development in the first book.
Yeah, I agree. Sometimes like, you love a series and then it doesn't get picked up for season 2 and you're like, oh, it's okay because I loved the series enough that I didn't need a next season. Like, that's this. If she decides I'm not going to write anymore, it's fine because I loved this book enough to be a standalone.
Yeah, and I think like even when I think about like my favorite series, right, like literally like ACOTAR, I never rate for A Court of Thorns and Roses that high because even though it was enjoyable, it just doesn't give you what the rest of the series does, whereas like I think this book delivers tenfold. So if it only gets better from here, Jesus Christ, because that was fucking outstanding.
If it only gets better from you, we're in for a fucking ride. Yeah. I
just think what she achieved in one book, like I said, in terms of plot and world building, was so intense.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck is book 2 gonna be?
I know. So that being said, what do you think book 2 is going to be? Do you have any predictions?
Honestly,
obviously we've both said that we think Elroy could be Fisher's real dad.
I don't think Fisher's dad is dead. I've got a bit of a feeling I don't think Fisher's mum is particularly dead.
Okay.
I don't know. There's definitely going to be there definitely will be, I think, results about Saeris' parents. I don't think like her mum was her mum.
Okay. I'm interested to see if we get any story as to who her dad was and where he is.
Also
because
that.
obviously, like, I think she just says, like, somebody that her mum slept with, and, like, we don't get any.
I think she said her dad dies. That he's like a merchant or something, and he died on the road or something.
But then if she's got alchemy, then she, there's got to be some sort of Fae lineage.
Yeah, but maybe her parents just weren't her parents. Do you know what I mean? Like, I just don't think her parents were her
dropped on the doorstep. Yeah. I hope we do get a story out of like her family.
I hope so too.
Do you think we'll get a reunion with Hayden?
Yeah, I hope so, because we haven't really seen him much, have we? The other thing I was going to say, I do wonder, a bit of me thinks, like, is there going to be a bit of a, like, I wouldn't say enemies to lovers, but her and Fisher's relationship going to struggle because she's now queen of effectively, like, the enemy?
Yeah.
Because that's been Fisher's entire existence, is literally fighting them. Although he was stuck in a fucking Colosseum for like 50 years.
We'll get into that.
Isn't it really sick how Malcolm kept calling him my love?
Oh my God.
I thought there was definitely...
I thought that something was coming out of that. I was like, right, where's he going with this? Like, what's the next fucking...
be like an Amarantha with Reese kind of thing.
As in, what's the next fucking reveal going to be? Yeah, I was like... And there was a lot of emphasis on it. It was always in italics, wasn't it? So then I was thinking, like, does he have specific words to control people? And that that's like his phrase to control Fisher. Because obviously at one point Fisher tries to tell her about where he was, and like it gets like almost stuck in his throat because he's bound to him and he's not allowed to speak about it. He actually can't like voice it. Like,
so clear this up for me, because I don't think I think I do, but I don't know if I fully understand it. They were attacking that gate, the place when Malcolm's people, and Fisher made a deal with Malcolm, and said, because they knew they were going to die, the people were going to die, like they were fucked, and basically said, we'll do a flip of a coin. If it lands on whatever, you leave these people alone. If it lands on heads or whatever, I let you kill them.
I don't think that was ever the thing. I think it was like one way I win, one way you win. If it lands my way, you let them all live and you leave and we walk away. If it goes your way, I'll leave with you. But he obviously doesn't let the coin land.
Yeah,
he puts it inside that monster.
I just wondered why it ended up being. Why did Fisher end up getting stuck there? That was a part of the deal, was that he would go with him.
There was there was no resolution to the coin toss.
Yeah, because it didn't land.
So he was bound, like he was just like in limbo almost, I think. And obviously trying, to get the coin. That was awful. That labyrinth was terrible.
Sick. Like, he was in there for 50 years. Like, what must that have been like?
Fucking spider, but with a human's body. Ugh.
I hope we get more answers to that, because I feel like that's still a bit hazy.
Yeah.
And why Fisher can't talk about it. And
like, you know what? Well, I think it was something to do with if you get bit by Malcolm, like, he can control you.
Yeah, in his thrall.
Yeah, in his thrall. Very strange, but very enjoyable. Like,
oh yeah, really enjoyable. And so that's like maybe a topic we can discuss right now, is the character of Kingfisher.
Yes.
So like, as soon as before we get to that, actually, you really thought that there was a different love interest, didn't you?
I did. So when she first got arrested and was taken to Madra's palace, and Aaron was looking after her, and like he's dragging her through the halls, but they're having dialogue like while they're doing it, and I was like, bodyguard, love interest. Oh, this is the love interest. Waiting. Then when he run through her with a knife, I was like, oh, maybe this isn't the love interest. And then obviously Kingfisher comes out of the Quicksilver, and you quickly realise that is the love interest. But yeah, at that point when they were having that like almost like banter dialogue back and forth while they were walking to Queen Madra, I was like, this is it. This is the love interest. I've sussed it out already.
Yeah.
But obviously it wasn't. But then he pops back up.
He does. He comes back at the end. But as soon as they started describing like a 7 foot tall, dark haired male, Oh, and it's done. We read so many books like it, but
Callie Hart, you found your target audience. It's us.
We'll take 10.
Yeah.
I just was like, oh, I'm fucking sold.
Yeah.
I was just
give
like,
it
to me. And then obviously she wakes up, and then you don't really get much of Kingfisher until he's like dragged into the palace.
As the dog.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah, man of many titles, isn't he?
Yes.
But yeah, it was, and then as soon as it was like, oh, you've got to stay here at the palace, and and he's going to train her in alchemy, I was like, oh, here we fucking go. The scene where she tries to swipe the necklace off him, and they kiss, don't they? Yeah.
And she takes his ring.
Oh, the ring. That was it, sorry.
She's straddling him, and steamy.
And also, like, we get a lot of I wouldn't say this is grumpy sunshine, because she's not sunshine.
No,
it's just grumpy. But like, and he is, I wouldn't say he's stereotypical, but like, not the most unique character.
No.
But he's an absolute fucking pig. Like, he's a bastard. When he starts talking about like fucking her till she can't walk and choking her out.
Yes, please.
And do you know what? This is where I think Callie Hart's like dark romance past influences it.
Yes.
And that's what I think is so refreshing about this, is a lot of the men that we read, like if I take, again, not a spoiler, but if I take like Dawn of Onyx, King Ravenwood, for example, although he's a nasty bastard, he does have it. All of our men are morally grey.
Yeah.
I don't think Kingfisher's morally grey.
Oh yeah, I think he's a bastard.
He's a terrible person.
I agree.
But like, I'm here for it.
Low-key here for it.
Like, all my highlights when I just went on my notes to see just him talking about choking her out.
So obviously when we get their first sex scene, he like makes the portal, they go back to his like little like stronghold, he sleeps with her and he leaves straight away, and you text me, oh my god, he's fucked and chucked her, like what the hell is going on? How did you feel about him just disappearing afterwards?
He was really pissing me off.
Yeah.
And even now, even though we get the answer, but there wasn't really an excuse. Like, he was just being a twat. He's
just there. He's a bit all over the place, isn't he?
Yeah.
He thinks he doesn't deserve happiness. He doesn't want to put that onto her.
Like, I don't know. It was all a bit like, I don't think his excuses were valid.
It's like, oh, what was me? Oh.
Nah, there was no need for him to just fuck her. And what annoyed me more is then when she saw him in the like war camps, he like literally wouldn't even speak to her. That's what I didn't like.
Yeah.
Now that we got the resolution, I still think he was being a bastard.
Yeah, same.
Like, he was not, but it was awful.
Well, even the last time they sleep together in his mother's apartment, and then he leaves because he's going to turn himself in.
I was so
like,
angry.
oh, stop fucking like playing the martyr, like fucking pack it in.
Yeah, he was being a right little bitch, wasn't he?
Yeah,
because he says I love you that night to it, doesn't he? Oh. I'm not gonna lie, I will say the I love you took me as a surprise.
Yeah,
because he's not like, in a lot of books, when you
he's
get
grumpy.
Yeah, grumpy. When you get the big, like, heart-wrenching reveal, like, I would say a lot of their relationship up until this point has just been fucking.
Yeah.
Which is great, but I do think it's actually interesting because I think he's very, I'd say flawed, but, like, I think he's emotionally quite, like, what's the word? Emotionally, not inept, like...
Emotionally challenged?
Emotionally, like he doesn't really have like good emotions.
Okay, he's not emotionally intelligent. He has no emotional intelligence.
Yeah, so I think like him just saying I love you to him, and I do think he does.
Yeah.
But like, he's not a very like sweet talker, is he?
No, he wouldn't give you a cuddle after sex.
Yeah, and he's not saying like, you are my stars and my moon.
Yeah.
So it came from a bit of like, I say nowhere, but
yeah, but really sweet that his mum had like seen her and drawn her.
Yeah.
And like his mum was obviously like an oracle, and
stunning.
Yeah, amazing. So after the first time they sleep together, when he does eventually talk to her, he's like marching her towards the healer's tent because he wants to get her like effectively what their version of the morning after pill is. And we find out that the queen has been having like 9 out of 10 girls sterilized to manage the population. I was really fucking mad. Like,
yeah,
really fucking mad. Like,
sick. But do you know what, right? A part of me thinks, oh, really interesting way of kind of like not having to always do like, are you taking the contraceptive tonic or the contraceptive potion? But there's a little niggling part of me that worries that later on in the series that there's going to be a surprise pregnancy trope.
Oh, okay.
I'm not one of these people who fucking hates it, right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't love it, but I don't hate it. But look, maybe if she pulls it out, it makes it, like, spoiler warning for Actor. And I wouldn't say it was surprise, but like, there was a pregnancy trope in Actor. But at that point, like, Feyre, like, you were so far in that, like, it wasn't that much of a shocker, you know? It made sense. So look, maybe we're going to be like 4 books deep when this pays off. Yeah. But if it is sooner than I think it is, which is a little part of me, I'm like worried. I don't know if I'm going to like that.
Would you recommend it to a friend?
I would, but I will say it's heavy on the fantasy.
Yeah.
I think, sorry, that was the point I was trying to get at when I was talking about the pregnancy trope is...
Oh, yeah.
I don't know how I'd feel about it in any of my favourite books, but this is very, very fantasy. Like, very fantasy. So I do think it maybe takes you out of it a little bit more. Whereas maybe if you were reading something like Bride,
yes,
it wouldn't be quite as jarring.
Yeah.
But whereas with this, the entire Bride, I think, was a bit more romance with fantasy, whereas this for me is more fantasy with romance.
Yeah, I agree.
So I think that there being a surprise pregnancy trope would jar me a bit more than it would in something like Bride. Again, I'm not here to say that I would be totally against it because, like, I actually don't mind it in other series.
Yeah.
Sorry, you asked me if would I recommend it.
Would you recommend this to a friend?
I would, but I don't think I'd recommend to somebody who was, and I don't mean this in a bad way, I don't think I'd recommend to somebody as their gateway into fantasy romance.
Yeah, I agree.
It's heavy.
Yeah.
So, like, it's not like your Fourth Wings and your Akatars where it sort of treads. And I think the fact that it's a little bit darker.
Yeah. And I think if you don't understand what Fae are or know what to expect from vampire characters, then it can all be a bit confusing. Whereas, like, we've read so much that includes Fae, that includes vampires, that we can understand it a lot quicker.
So being that quick pace and getting it all in one book is fine for us because we're so comfortable with it. That was the point I was going to make. Again, slight spoiler warning for the Plated Prisoner series, but that's where Plated Prisoner differs, is it takes you a good 2 to 3 books really to get to that point. So actually, maybe really as somebody who doesn't really read much fantasy, it would be okay because it's a gradual build.
Yeah.
Which all of this happens in one book.
Yeah.
And it's not the biggest book. It's bigger than your average, but it's not massive. We're not talking like, we're not talking like 1,000-pager.
Yeah.
So it's, and again, it doesn't feel too clunky. We're not talking like a House of Earth and Blood.
No.
It's a lot. I think we got on well with it because we've read a lot of fantasy.
Yeah, I agree.
So I would recommend it to anybody on Book Talk who reads the books that we do. You need to go download this immediately. Like,
agreed.
Immediately it needs to go to the top of your TBR.
Yeah.
To a non-romantasy reader, probably not.
Yeah, I know, I agree with that. I think that's a fair statement.
So it was a 4.5 stars for you.
Yes.
Dropped slightly because you just felt there was a little bit too much. I think with the points you made, which was really valid, is it wasn't clear if that was a cliffhanger.
Yeah.
You're not sure if, like, because there's certain things like when you finish books that are so obvious, like you're gonna find this out at some point. Like, it was intentionally not explained.
Yeah.
Whereas that, it's a bit like, oh,
yeah, like why hasn't he died without the Quicksilver? I need that.
Just a bit. Yeah, I do get where you're coming from. But for me, I've got to. It was a 5-star. It was an absolute corker. I was not expecting it to be. Not in like a shit talky way, but I just wasn't expecting.
We've never read anything by her before, have we? So we went in like with like no like free bias.
I was
like
gasped.
Yeah, same. By a lot of this book, I was gasped.
Very little did I predict.
Yeah, no, I really enjoyed it, and I'm really excited for book 2. October doesn't feel that long away.
No, so next week we are talking to Callie Hart herself. So excited to obviously talk about Quicksilver, but also talk to somebody who's like transitioned into the fantasy romance world. I think that'll be really interesting. So tune in for that. Then the week after, we've got our Bookish Origins with Bookish Babes After Dark.
Yeah, I'm really excited for both of those.
And if you haven't, like, if you don't follow them, you don't listen to them, go do that. They're on TikTok, they're on Spotify. They're hilarious. So we're very excited.
Yeah. Lots of fun stuff coming up.
And like we said, we don't have, after that, a huge amount scheduled.
No.
Not stuff that's like in stone.
No.
So if you're listening to us on Spotify, put it in the little comment box that comes up on the page. What do you want to hear? Tell us what you want to hear. If you're on Apple, I don't think it does that on Apple.
Don't know. Email us.
Instagram, TikTok, message us. We reply to everything. Threads.
We're here.
We're on it all.
Thanks so much for listening.
Follow us on TikTok and Instagram at A Pod of Smut and Wingspan.
See you next week.
Bye.